need to take some old plans, like old existing floor plans, and update them, if you need to take a set of topography plans or maps to create a site plan, but you want to make sure everything to scale is to scale, take some old plans, like old existing floor plans, and update them. I don't know why. We're still casting? Yes, we're still live. All right, so AutoCAD is a great tool to use for scaling, like making scale documentation. Some people use it for creating architectural sheet sets. Some firms will use it for creating architectural sheet sets. A lot of people have upgraded to Revit just because Revit allows you to insert materials, create plans, sections, and elevation all in the same paper space. Like you wouldn't have to do a different drawing. So I'll show y'all some Revit later, but y'all probably be going over that more with Dr. Daniels. Do you have access to AutoCAD is the question. Have y'all downloaded that program?
I've downloaded AutoCAD, but Revit, I've had issues downloading.
Revit, I would take your time with because it's going to take up a lot of space. If you have AutoCAD for right now, that's good because you can get started bringing your documents in, like your hand drawings, into Revit and, you know, making that work out. So
Yeah.
You can start hardlining them rather. So I'm just going through, I had to go through and resave the project because I forgot my jump drive at home. So give me 1 second. There's a project that I'm going to be demonstrating how to render for the first half of the semester, and it is David Adjaye's Sunken House. If you are interested in also doing this project, you can do this project, or you can work on another architecture house. But I would recommend that it's easier to follow along if you do this project. And it has a small building footprint, so it's a lot less complicated. But if you choose not to and you want to do something more, you can do that. But this will give you kind of the basic skill set to go ahead and start modeling your projects in 3D. And I think we'll have time to get into a little bit of SketchUp in this class. Some people like to model in Revit. I like to model in SketchUp just because that is an easy transition for me. And what's great about SketchUp is you can still take it into your more advanced rendering platforms like Lumion or Inkscape. And sorry, apparently I can't talk and click. You can take it into Lumion or Inkscape and begin, creating photorealistic renderings, if that's your goal. There are many different types or ways to render, as you saw via some of the presentations of the firms last week. A lot of people are really into the very realistic renderings because it gives you a hypervisual understanding of the space. Other people prefer to do things like watercolors or something of that nature. If you are interested in doing the Sunken House, I'm going to send you this website where I got the documentation for it in the chat. And you can literally just go through and save the PNGs. You want to save the documents as PNGs or JPEGs, like an actual image file, rather than a PDF, because sometimes PDF drawings for some reason will disappear in AutoCAD's paper space. And we need to make sure everything is to scale before we start redocumenting it. So that is I'm going to show you the house that I'm referring to. So this is David Adjaye. Everybody's familiar with David Adjaye, famous African British world-renowned architect. This is the house that I'm going to be working on documenting. So essentially, I'll be taking these images into AutoCAD, and maybe not so much the elevations, but definitely the floor plans, taking those, retracing those, just so that y'all understand how to go through that process of, you know, entering a document, setting up layers. Setting up layers, scaling it via a reference point, and then after we do that, we'll have a hardline document that we can take into Illustrator and Photoshop and render. And then what's also great about having all these images of the building, which is why it's important to kind of get all of it, you can start kind of stealing away pieces of the building material and putting it into your Photoshop rendering or your Illustrator rendering of the elevations of the building. So I'm trying to determine whether I'm going to go into actually three-dimensionally modeling it on SketchUp. We could do that. We could do a three-dimensional view of the exterior, and I can show you how to just set up a view of the building. I'm not necessarily going to model the entire thing, like all of the walls, all of the interior, all the stairs. No, we're going to focus on a particular view of the building and just render that. And then we could take that into Lumion and make it more photorealistic, if I can get a hold of Lumion. Or we can take it into Photoshop and add some textures to it to get a nice rendering as well. But we'll definitely play around with the elevations. So all of you were required to choose a house. If you have done so, please send me the name of the house and the architect so that I can keep record of what each of you are going to be working on. So you can put that in the chat. All right. So this is AutoCAD 2020. This is what you would have access to from the architecture lab here. They may even have it in the engineering building, I'm not certain. So we are going to begin by setting up a paper space for a line drawing. Not a paper space, our model space for a line drawing. So you'll hear me use the term paper space and model space pretty often. Can y'all hear my heater? Is that like disruptive?
No.
Okay, cool. So you'll hear me use the terms paper space and model space. Model space is typically this black space where you're creating, and you can change the color, this space where you're actually modeling the drawing or, you know, drawing up whatever documents, whatever. You can do 3D modeling in AutoCAD. I feel like I mentioned that. It's just that it's not the most efficient tool for that. You're better off using Revit or SketchUp, or let me see, 3D Studio Max. I don't think anybody really uses that anymore. Rhino, Maya. Those are tools that are better for three-dimensional development. AutoCAD is a more efficient tool for 2D drawing development. So here we are in the AutoCAD model space. You can tell it's in 2D because you got that XY axis here. You can change it to different viewports so that you can see things in 3 dimensions. You can also open multiple viewports in model space, like basically divide up the window so that you can see it from different views. But since we're just working on 2D documents, it's not necessary to do that. So one thing that's great about AutoCAD is the development of layers and your layering tools. Your hardline drawings, very similarly to when you would hand draw a document, you're going to have different line types and different line weights. So using your layer properties, you can create multiple layers that will allow you to assign different line weights, different line colors, different line types. So it might be a dashed line, a solid line, depending on what you're trying to indicate in the drawing. So it's the first thing you typically want to do. I feel like I'm missing something. Oh, there's another thing. If we go down here to the lower part of the screen, in model space, I don't know why my screen is flickering like that. There are a number of different modes that you can adjust your settings to in order to make things more accurate for your drawing. So in order to keep your lines straight, you would use ortho mode. You can use snap to different corners of your drawing as you're putting it together. There are other options that will allow you to make things more parallel. There are different settings for rotation, so you can decide whether or not you have an angle at these different degrees. Like, you know, I think y'all get the general idea. Another thing that you want to be aware of is while you can utilize these toolbars up here to draw different elements and manipulate different elements of your drawing, you can also type in various commands. So it's a command-based program. So it helps to have an AutoCAD guide or book. I feel like I still have my original AutoCAD book from 2000. Oh, I had it. I don't want to talk about that. I had the original AutoCAD book from 2000 and it had all of basically the same commands. So you can type in things like rotate or line, and it'll give you, options for a polyline, which is a line that is continuous and connected, or a regular line, which it stops and ends at 1 point or 2 points. Then you can adjust line weights and things like that. So when you type in these things, there are like abbreviations for each of them. Like you see it has MTeX, P-edit, so that's polyline edit. You would just need to know the abbreviations for that. So I'm going to show you a little bit of both. But first, I want us to set up our layers. So everybody's kind of understanding what I'm saying thus far.
Professor, what are you sharing on your screen?
You cannot see, oh, dang it. All this time I've been talking. Hold on. My screen is flickering for some reason. New share. My bad. I feel like I need to go through all of that again. All right. Can you see AutoCAD?
Yes.
Yes.
So prior something completely different, I imagine. All right, so let me give you that explanation again, and I'll try to cut that part out of the recording. So AutoCAD has two major purposes. It's really to create two-dimensional drawings that are to scale. So when you're using this as a tool in an architectural office, that is typically what you would be working on, sets of plans or details or something of that nature to be printed, like sets of blueprints. When I say, you understand what I'm saying, drawing sets for the design development of a structure, a master plan, what have you. The benefit of using this particular tool is that everything will remain to scale, and that you can create things in different line weights and have an accurate depiction of whatever it is that you're trying to communicate architecturally. It is not a very efficient tool for 3D modeling. And I think I gave you a list of things that are better suited for that. So Revit, of course, Maya, Rhino, the SketchUp, those are tools that are more effective in that regard. But for drawings, documentation, even historic preservation documentation, scaling up drawings, like a lot of times, what we would do when we were working on historic preservation drawings in undergrad is we would take a picture of a building and take a measurement of the face of the building, like a door or something, like a reference point. And then we would scale up that particular picture and start tracing over that picture to create an accurate document of that building. So essentially what we're going to do today is insert an XREF, an external reference, that's what XREF stands for, in order to trace over, scale, and then trace over to create a new plan that is then an AutoCAD document that you can later fill or edit in Illustrator and Photoshop. So that's the purpose of me showing you this tool today. But it will really help you if you have existing hand drawings that you want to scan in and document in the virtual space. So whatever projects that you have from first year that you're really like, I want this to read stronger, or I want to show a particular firm or whatever, that I have these other skill sets, or that I can create drawings on the computer, AutoCAD can be a tool that you use. Now, layers. So as I was saying, when you are creating a drawing, either by hand or using a digital tool like AutoCAD, you have to compile those drawings using multiple line types and line weights. So it could be solid lines, dashed lines, curved lines if you're using like creating a topography map or something of that nature. And then your line weights will of course range to very light to very heavy, depending on what you're drawing and how you want your drawing to read. Rendering is so you would render a drawing or add texture to a drawing or color to a drawing or material to a drawing in order for it to look more realistic and for you to better communicate your design ideas. So what we're going to do is take an external reference of The Sunken House by David Adjaye, put it into AutoCAD, scale it, take it out of AutoCAD, save it out as a PDF, and then edit it and render it using Illustrator and Photoshop. We'll put in materials and all types of fun stuff to give people a better understanding of how the space works and what materials are in the interior of the building. So that's all part of presentation. All right, so here we are. I don't know why my screen is flickering. Can y'all see that flicker? That's a problem. So essentially, I am in my layer properties toolbar or drop down menu. And this is my 0 layer. AutoCAD always starts you off with layer 0. It's best to not use layer 0 if you can avoid it. Like you can use an alternative layer. Depending on, thank you. Depending on where you are in life working, they may set it up for you in a particular architectural firm, like because you assign different layers, different colors to communicate different weights, because when you print certain documents in AutoCAD and you print them as like a monochrome document, different colors show up as different line weights. So like a cyan would show up lighter than a red line, like an actual red line or red layer. So it gives you that variation of dark lines and light lines. And then of course you can adjust the line weights. But depending on where you're working, more often than not, they will give you your layer colors already assigned. So you can actually go to Google and look up like what colors, what things should be represented in what colors. But I'm going to do a couple new layers. I just like to click on, like right click on my 0 layer and add a new layer, add new layers. And depending on where you, wait, they may or may not assign the names to the layers for you as well. Like they'll have it all outfitted for you in the company computer, and you would have to use their layer names, like their whole system, their layer names and their layer colors. But a lot of companies aren't necessarily using AutoCAD for production anymore, but it's still a good tool to know. All right, so I'm going to, and we don't use the 0 layer because when we bring in external reference drawings, your external reference documentation will be on the 0 layer. And you want your layers to be, your other layers to be above the external reference so that you can actually see it. And there are ways that you can label these. A lot of times they'll say like arc plan or something of that nature. So it really does depend on where you are, but you want to set up your layers prior to beginning your drawing is the general idea. And it may be arc plan, exterior walls, or it just might be arc exterior walls. It really just depends. And the reason why we would delineate between arc and something else is because you may have it, you may be creating a drawing that includes mechanical, electrical, whatever. So I'm just going to call this exterior wall. And then, why won't it let me edit? There we go. I'm going to do arc. Hope you are not getting the lag that I'm getting on your end, but I don't imagine that you're not. I'm not really sure why my computer is doing this, but I'm going to do the best we can with what we have. Didn't want that in all caps. And you don't have to type in the whole thing. You can say art interior WAL or something like that. And then I'm going to create, I'm not sure what just happened. So if all else fails, you can't remember how to create a new layer, you can always right click on the existing layer and then say new layer in the drop down box. There are little icons and things that represent new layer. I don't remember what all of it means. To be quite honest with you, it's been some time, but for the sake of this exercise, you will understand how to set up layers, how to bring in external reference, and how to manipulate your layers in order to create a CAD drawing over an existing line drawing. And I'm just going to call this not art, but scale line. And you could delete layers. You could turn off layers. You can lock layers so that certain things that you're drawing, like if you're drawing something over top of another and you need to move an element, you can lock a layer so that the lines on that particular layer don't move. You can turn off a layer with the light bulb function. You can freeze a layer with this little sun situation. Can't remember the difference between freeze and lock right now, but I will let you know when it comes to me. All right, so we got a few layers up here. I'm going to change this to red, and I just clicked on the color swatch rather. And I'm going to should I make this another color? No, I'm going to make this red just for the sake of life. I'll probably end up using the same layers for the interior and exterior walls, just because I do that sometimes. But for the sake of understanding how to set up multiple layers, that's why I put that on there. And then my scale, I'm going to make that yellow so that you can know that that's the line that we're using to scale. All right, so now we are going to go to, close. I'm going to close out this box. I'm going to go to insert. Don't know why this is doing what it is. This version of AutoCAD has an option to insert PDFs. What I like to do, and you can use that option, is attach an external reference. And I'm going to go to my desktop. Of course, none of these are labeled because I forgot to do that. First of all, let me go back and change the name of the drawings. So give me 1 second. So when you save out your drawings and you save them out as JPEGs, you want to make sure that you save them as a thing that you recognize. So if it's plan first floor, then you want to say plan first floor. You don't want it to do what your teacher just did. Hold on, I'm gonna share with you what I just did. You don't want to do what your teacher just did and just saved out all of these drawings without renaming them, because when you're trying to insert your external references, that could become confusing because you don't know which of these files is what. So I need a more close-up view because I'm low-key losing my eyesight. Nope, what did I do? All right, can y'all still see my screen? So I'm looking for the first floor plan of this. Honestly, don't remember what, I think this is the top floor. So I want to rename all of my floor plans to be what they are. So if it's the first floor, I want to rename it for the first floor. If it's the second floor, I want to rename it for the second floor, etc., so on and so forth. Where is my ground plane? No, one of these are below ground, below grade. I just don't remember which one it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 second. Okay, so here's where the car is. So this is the one that is essentially at grade or below grade. So I'm going to start with this particular drawing. Where's the one with the car? And I'm just going to rename it. Properties. No, there's a different way to do this. I just want to rename my file. Oh my Lord. Why won't it let me just rename the file? This is like typically right click, rename file, keep it moving. Am I forgetting to do something? Y'all are welcome to interject because I'm feeling slightly remedial right now. All right, either way.
Try clicking edit.
Yeah, no, it's not letting me do it. We just jacked up. All right, whatever. Either way, when you're saving out your documents, make sure you label each of them. Make sure you put them in a file that says the name of the project. I didn't do that either, but I will go back and correct my mistakes. For the time being, I'm going to go ahead and insert this as an external reference. This was 13J, so that's what I'll use. 13, what does this say? I don't know what that is. 12, 14. So it should be 12, 13, and 14. That's what I need. All right, so attach, back to desktop. Insert, open. Of course, you'll get a little preview here, whatever you're opening, but it helps if you already have them saved as. We can rename it here. I think this is the first floor, ground floor. Nope, it won't let me do it. Oh, yes, it will. I really hope I don't have a computer virus. One thing about AutoCAD is you want to activate the autosave option as soon as possible, because AutoCAD tends to crash randomly once you've been using it for long periods of time. And it's really frustrating. Backspace. Let me try this again. All right, attach to my desktop because I put everything there. Nope, that's not what I want. All right, so we're gonna open. All right, so once you open it, it's going to ask you for, it's gonna show you preview, it's gonna say relative path, and that's fine. Specify on screen, and just, it's gonna give you the angle 0. All of this is fine. So you wanna hit okay. You're going to click somewhere on your screen. For some reason, I do the bottom left point to specify insertion point. And you can drag it out. What we're going to go about doing is finding a typical dimension of something in this drawing, which is may or may not work with David Ajay's building just because he has extra large doorways. But we can say, typical diameter for a toilet or something standard is what you would usually do if there are no dimensions on your building. If there are no dimensions on your building existing, you would find a standard size object in the drawing and scale it using that object. Does everybody kind of understand what I mean by that? Or nah? So like most doorways are usually 3 feet. Most toilets in diameter, well, it really does depend on the actual toilet, are a particular something. And you would find an element and you would use that to draw it. What I'm actually going to, y'all are not looking at the right screen. Dang it. I'm gonna have to do that again. Y'all got to tell me when I forget to share screen because my memory is not as great as it could be. All right, so I'm gonna show you that again. Sorry for the repeating of things over and over again, but a lot of people learn by repetition, so we'll work it out. All right, so here we are. We got our floor plan in the model space. I'm going to bring in the additional floor plans. And actually, I'm going to bring in the sections too, just so I can see if there are any elements on the section or on the existing drawings that I can use to scale the drawings with. So any documentation that I have regarding this drawing, and if there's like an exact measurement somewhere, that's what I can use to scale the drawing. So we're going back to insert at this top left-hand side. We're going to attach. I'm still inserting my floor plan, so I'm going to go to the other floor plan, open. All of these settings here are fine. Hit OK. Place it on the screen and drag it up. Now, what we have to keep in mind is this is just an image. It is not to scale yet. What will happen once we do this to scale, and we can use the car to scale this actually, because most cars are 8 foot. What we do when we scale it, like when we enter it in AutoCAD in papers in model space, more often than not, it's like a fraction of an inch, even though it might look big on the screen because I'm scrolling in and out. I'm doing that with my mouse. Of course, you can type in pan, or you can type in, that's a command, and that'll bring the little hand up so you can move it around. It helps to have a mouse with a little roly thingy on there. Or you can type in zoom, and either will do all, window, like it'll give you options when you type in zoom, and you could create a window around a particular object to zoom into. Okay. All right, so I'm going to continue bringing in drawings to see if there's any information on these drawings that will allow me to scale our documentation. 12, 13, 14. Hit OK. Insertion point. Keep in mind, I still have my ortho settings on so that everything comes in straight. If I turn my ortho settings off, then things can come in lopsided, skewed off to one end. I could draw a line and it's just, you know, whatever angle I put it in. If I draw it with the ortho setting on, then it'll give me straight, exact 90-degree lines. Okay, do you understand why that's important? So keep your line straight. If you got a straight edge building, whatever, all of your angles are true. Okay, we want to make sure that we always enter or escape to get out of the last command, because when you start typing, it'll automatically bring you into the last command that you entered. So I'm just erasing these things now. And when I was learning AutoCAD, it was a lot of type in the command, click on it, and you had to hit enter in order for it to work. Some people still work like that because they enter all of their commands. I tend to use my toolbars and a number of commands as well. So I'm the queen of the right click. So I'll right click on my mouse and then, you know, whatever comes up that I need to do. So you can also use pan, zoom, undo over here. You can calculate areas and lines and all types of things, depending on which tool you're using. All right, so what else? I'm going to insert a section. And you can also insert actual photographs in here. I feel like I mentioned that, but not sure it was helpful. So this gives us an idea of how many levels we are working with in this particular drawing. I can't see though what these numbers say, so that's a little bit frustrating. But yeah, so as you can see from the section, there's a floor that's below grade. Then at grade, there is the car. And then you go up to another floor where there are bedrooms, etc. And then up on the top floor or the roof, there's a terrace. So let me bring in the other things. Is this the terrace or? No, I don't think that's the terrace. This is the kitchen. This is the sleeping quarters floor. I believe this is the ground floor. I just don't remember which one of them is below grade. And this particular section doesn't have any furniture in it to let me know. So this is all a big part of like, what do I add to communicate what is, you know, important in my documentation. So it would have helped me to understand, even though this is a construction document, it probably would have helped me to understand better where things are on the plan, like how the plans relate to your vertical space, if there were some actual scale furniture pieces in there or something like that. All right, so I know for certain that this deck relates to this level. So we know that this is the ground level, I think. The car comes in where? Lower ground floor. Where is the garage? Might actually have to go back to the building description. either way, let me show you how to scale this. So what I'm going to assume is that this interior door here is a regular 3-foot door. And what I'm going to do is create, I'm going to go to my layer, go back to home. I'm going to go to my layer that says scale line. I'm going to draw a line between my door jambs. And it's a little hard to see because your background is white. Ugh. Let me do something important that I did not do. I need to bring the scale. I need to bring this, move this layer up. Or I can also right click on the, what am I trying to say? Right click on the drawing to send it backwards. I used to be able to do that anyway. What is happening? Chat, I'll need to find a new house. The pictures and diagrams for the York house are not as detailed as they need to be. Okay. No problemo. So to make layer current, I want to move my layers. I'm going to go to layer properties. Open that up again. Why can't I remember how to do this? This is really sad. Rename layer. Nope, nope, nope. I just want to move it up. In a minute. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. There we go. Yep. All right. So what I did was click on this arrow up top where it says name so that I could move the selected layer from the bottom to the top, so that now my yellow layer would be on top of my 0 layer. And so I can see what I'm drawing. So I'm gonna close that, go back to a line. I'm gonna create a reference line where this door is. We're gonna pretend, you see, oh gosh, I forgot one very important thing. Something you want to do when you start a drawing, even before you start adding your layer, is to change your units. And you can type that in. Here it has it in decimal degrees. We don't need it in decimal degrees. We want everything in architectural precision to what do you call it? Precision to a 16th is fine. Your ankle type, that's a different thing. Your length and your architectural, all of that, we want to make sure that your length type is in architectural. Sometimes if you're working in other options, you can do engineering, and your units for your insertion scale are in inches. So depending on where you're working, if you're working internationally, that could change. But for our sake, we're using inches. Okay. And of course, you can make it down to more precise, but I like to stay at a 16. All right, so now that we've changed our units to architectural units in inches, and these numbers that are coming up make sense, I'm going to take off snap mode. I'm going to take grid mode off too. We can still stay with what you call it. We changed our layers, so now we can see our line on top of the weight, and we're just going to draw a line in between, like the door jambs, if you will. So not including the door frame because we're measuring, essentially we're scaling it, measuring the inside of the space. So now, this is where y'all need to pay attention, for real, for real. And after that, we're going to end class. So we're gonna hit scale. We're gonna hit enter. It's gonna ask what objects. So you're looking in the little command toolbar, what objects? We're going to select the entire, I hate when it does this. It's New School AutoCAD. I'm gonna select the entire picture. Right click, specify base point. I wanna click the left-hand corner. It's gonna ask us to specify a scale factor or copy. Copy or reference. You are going to put in reference or R. Specify reference length. So remember that little line that we drew? We can take it, we scroll into that line, click on the first point of that line, click on the second point of that line. This is a good time to have your snap mode on. What did I do? Let's do that again. Because of course I changed my settings and it did something else. So I'm hitting escape, type in scale. We've got our units and everything already set. Select objects. We're selecting the whole picture, including that reference line. Or you can just click on it and hit shift and make sure the reference line is selected too. Okay. Then always right click, you can hit enter. Specify base point, click the bottom left-hand corner. Then they're going to ask you for your scale factor. Type R, hit enter. Specify reference length. Our snap is on, which is good. We're going to scroll into our reference line. Why won't it let me see it? Oh, this is so obnoxious. This is not letting me do what I want it to do. Really not that hard. All right, cancel. One more time. I'm gonna turn off snap mode because it's not letting me be great. At least y'all got to see me go through this a million times. Scale, select objects. You hit your shift key, you can just select the paper and the thing. 2 objects found, hit enter, specify base point, lower left-hand corner, reference, enter. Your reference line is the line. So it's that little green box should help you snap to the beginning and the end of the line. Specify new length. You see that in the bottom portion of the screen in that little command toolbar? You're going to type in 3 feet. Enter. Now we're going to zoom out. Zoom, enter, A, enter. That means zoom all. Now when we go back and take the measurements of this line, which we can do using the distance tool, the abbreviation for that is DI in your commands. Then we can scroll in and see, is this line now 3 feet? And it is, which means now your drawing is to scale. What happened to your other drawings? Who knows? Because now this larger drawing could be covering them up because everything that we brought in was super small. But we know that when we go to trace over this plan and print it out at a particular scale, be it a 16th, 4th, 1/8, whatever, a half, everything will be proportioned and everything will be to scale. So when you take an architectural scale to it, then the drawings are accurate. So we got this far with this today. Sorry, we had so many mishaps. I hope y'all saw that. Did you see that? Were we looking at AutoCAD space the entire time? Please tell me yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. So now we're just want to save this out. So if you can get a hold of AutoCAD, get your floor plan saved, make sure you label it floor plan so you don't have any problems. I'm going to label this sunken house arc to 11. So we make sure we save that. Once you save a document the first time in AutoCAD, it should activate the autosave feature. You can also type in is it autosave? Yeah. I can't remember what the value is. 2 minutes. Okay. Either way, once you save your document for the first time, it should activate the autosave feature. Otherwise, we have to go into our settings to make sure it does that. But either way, this document, this plan is now saved to a particular scale, and we can go about tracing it to get a hardline AutoCAD generated drawing. So what I want you to do for homework, one, if you have not done so already, download AutoCAD. 2, your architectural drawings for your house, save those out in a separate file. Make sure you label each of the drawings. You want to do it with JPEGs, whatever. And 3, start inserting them into an AutoCAD drawing. Make sure you go through the steps of setting up your layers, changing your units, and then scale these drawings. Try and scale your drawings using an XREF. If you have any issues, we will address it on Friday, but at least get the plans into the AutoCAD drawing, which I think I went over that multiple times, so you should be able to address it. And I've got this casting, so I can send you the YouTube link. If y'all have any questions, again, we will go over it on Friday, and then I'll start showing you how to basically trace this document out using your different line weights and layers. Okay? All right. Ladies, gentlemen, I hope that was insightful. I hope you learned something today. And if you did not, then I look forward to teaching you something new and cool another time.
Thank you.
Friday. You're very welcome. Don't forget your assignment. Make sure you get your AutoCAD, your drawings of your house, plans, sections, elevations, saved and inserted into model space. Even if you can't scale them, get them into model space. All right. Y'all have a good day.